Hey everybody, it's Jim with Today in Trades, another great episode. I really love having guests on our show because we learn a lot, and not just from me and some of our listeners calling in and checking in, but it's really fun to talk to not only other members of the home services community, but other members that are doing some really cool stuff with their company. And today we have Chris Igou from CareerPlug. And Chris actually has a background in home services, and I'll let him talk to that a little bit, which makes it really fun that he gets to represent CareerPlug with us here today. This show, as most of you know, is sponsored by BidClips. And as a company on the BidClip side, they use CareerPlug to source their call center and their sales team, as well as their staff. And so not only are we users of the product, but we're believers in what CareerPlug does. So Chris, thanks for being on the show, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Jim, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. My story is kind of funny. I started out as a painter. I always relate and like attribute my career to this gentleman named Nate Davis, who in high school, I'm walking down the hall and he says, "Hey, what are you doing this summer?" And he's like, "Do you want to paint houses with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds awesome. Way better than folding clothes." So that's where the career started. And I turned painting houses into my first business, which I owned a painting company because I realized that you can make a lot more money if you're the owner of the business than if you were painting. And then that parlayed into me working in franchising. And so I got recruited into a company called College Pro Painters a long time ago. I learned, really cut my teeth in business there and learned the world of franchising. And then spent the last 20 years kind of bouncing around in different franchise organizations. I ran a handyman company for a while as a vice president of operations. And we had the big problem when we were recruiting handyman back then, Jim, and it was, where are they? How do you get them? How do you track them? How do you, using spreadsheets to do all this stuff? And so we became a client as well of CareerPlugs. And then several years later, I needed to make a change in my career, and the founder of CareerPlug said, "Hey, why don't you come on over and help us grow this business?" And so today we now work with, almost 35,000 small business locations across North America. And we work with over 300 different franchise brands and many of the biggest brands in home and commercial services. So that's my long version, but it's been kind of a crazy fun career.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm extra excited today because at first, when you hear career plug or you hear some of these different ways to hire, I think the first response is, okay, well, what is it really? And the idea of this show isn't so much to plug career plug, it is to talk about, not only is labor hard to find, our labor as managers, as owners, is valuable. And how much labor are we spending on finding labor? So, what I want to talk about more of this today with you is a few things like some of the mistakes we make, right? Two, what is the benefit of using a service like CareerPlug to just qualify? We often talk about that on the big clip side, qualifying the right clients, right? On the curve, like how do you just use your tools? So without going into a full demo, which I hope everybody at the end of the show clicks in the description, goes and takes a look at CareerPlug, you really need to take a look at it. Even if you say, "Oh, it's too expensive, I'm too busy, Jim, I'm not making any money," it's not my problem. Please at least go take a look at it, because I really think this is going to change the way we move forward. So Chris, let's talk about that a little bit. So you came in out of the franchising world, the home services world. You stepped into this company. What were the things that stood out to you the most that were powerful from their employer perspective about CareerPlug and its offering?
I'll answer your question in probably a little different way. So when I was a small business owner, there was two things that I evaluated almost every decision on. Is this decision going to save me time, or is it going to save me money? I could also throw in there, is it going to help me grow my business, right? But I was usually evaluating a tool like CareerPlug or a software on, is it going to save me time or is it going to save me money? And so part of the reason that I went over to CareerPlug, part of the reason I love the company so much is because it does both, and it also is designed for small business owners. So to answer your question a little bit more directly, really what it does is it saves you time in posting jobs and all over the internet. It saves you time in being able to qualify people who apply to all of your jobs. It keeps everything in one place. And that's really the time saving. And then it saves you money because you're not spending money on 15 different places trying to post jobs. Like, it's just posted in one place and it goes everywhere that you need it to go to. So part of the reason I love it, again, is I look at it, it says it does save time for a small business owner who has to wear 100 different hats every single day. They don't have enough time to do everything. And then they need to save money because they need to put the money back into their business to help them grow.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think, again, we just want to, I want to start this conversation around kind of what it even is. And then we're going to talk into some bigger kind of labor things too, because it goes to multiple levels of how we can save time and money. For us, I'm actually a user of CareerPlug. I have my own little login, et cetera. What's really cool about it too, it doesn't just find applicants. We have actually on the bid flip side, we have assessments. So you can immediately assess the particular applicant. It will sort for certain words that we're looking for, certain attributes. We're able to really set it up. And what was cool about it is, and I know my dad's driving out there, some of us, even if we're old fashioned, it's really easy. It's an easy platform to use. Great support. I just want to say that. It wasn't another thing I had to figure out. It was really, really intuitive. And once it was set up, then it was just literally applicants come in and they're just better applicants. So now we were spending our time on 5 and 6 real key people, not 15 where I'm asking the same questions from my van while putting in glass, while trying to run our business. And so I just want to say that that's really what it is for those of you listening who maybe have never considered using an employment program or platform or software. But let's take a step back though to the additional savings. And so not only does Chris get to work in the space, he gets to know the space really well. So I want to talk about some of the stats, because all I hear around the bar at trade shows or friends of mine is like, where do we find the people? We can't find people that stick around. And I want to start diving into more of like the labor and the hiring practices and what you'd be able to offer our industry on ways that we can just do better.
Yeah. So we talk a little bit about like, where are the people? Does that sound good? All right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do they
So
exist and
do
where
they
are they?
exist? Let's actually start there because I think I'll validate some feelings for a lot of people. If you look at, are there enough contractors to do the jobs that we have available today? The answer is no, they're not. And part of that is macroeconomics. So basically what you have going on in the United States especially is you have baby boomers who are now aging themselves out of working. Baby boomers had the millennials as their kids. So you have 4 generations. You've got baby boomers, you got Gen X, you've got millennials, and then you've got your Gen Z. And so the millennials are the biggest group of workers, but they're now getting to the point where they're 35 years and older. And so, they also were told by their parents, hey, don't go into the trades. Okay. That was the stigma. That's changing a little bit with the Gen Z group, Jim. And so the Gen Z group is under 35 years old. They're entering into the workforce, or they're in the workforce. They were not told that. So they're going to be more and more people who are entering into the trades. But that being said, they're just a much smaller population than the millennial group. So the bottom line is that's a lot of words to basically say, no, there's not enough contractors to do all the jobs. In fact, right now on the world's largest job boards like Indeed and ZipRecruiter, there are 2 jobs available for every 1 person. So 2 jobs are open for every 1 person that's actually looking for a job. And so what do you do with that? Well, what you really have to do if you're recruiting, if you're trying to hire somebody, is you have to be better. You have to be a place that people want to work. And so I often tell small business owners, I say, before you ever start with a CareerPlug software or posting a job or any of that, like answer the question, why is it awesome to work for you? And if you can't answer that question, nobody's going to work for you anyway. So it doesn't matter what you buy. Okay. So answer the question, why is it awesome to work for you? And then let that drive your places you're going to post. Now, where do people live? There's a couple places. Number one, if you're looking for a job, you're going to eventually run into Indeed. Indeed is the biggest job board in the world. I equate them to, it's like searching with Google. Everybody just does it. So there, you got to post onto Indeed, and with your CareerPlug account, we will automatically do that. But the other thing that's coming now is what we're seeing a huge trend is in industry niche job boards and social job boards. And so what these industry niche job boards are places like local Facebook groups for contractors. And so I'll give you a random example, but if you all open up your Facebook account and you go to groups, and in your Facebook account, you can find glazer networks, you can find painter networks, and people who are just sharing good practices locally in your market. You can even post your job directly into those groups and have a great collection of small, a small collection of people who are going to be great for your job. So that's really the trend. So you got big job boards, Jim, and then you've got these like micro local niche things that are all over online popping up every single day.
Wow. So first of all, 2 jobs, 1 worker. I would have never guessed that. I would have gotten that wrong in trivia. That's crazy. I thought it was more like 2 jobs, 3 workers looking, doesn't pay enough, right? That's always the stereotype. It's always about pay, et cetera, right? And that's going to be the next kind of part of this conversation. But what I'm hearing is that not only do you have to be in Indeed, you have to be connected, you have to have your tentacles in the right places so that people can find you. And then,
Yep.
and so CareerPlug is able to streamline that with just minimal effort. I mean, think about how long that would take to post Indeed, to be able to post. And that's like almost a full-time job. And when you only have a crew of 3 people and you're trying to just paint houses, we don't have that time. It's better to come home at night, sit down, turn on the football game, and then sort through the 3 or 4, start reading their resume, maybe connect with them, chat with them. CareerPlug also guides people through that process as well. It keeps them in the loop. It can kind of message them that way. Now, the next thing I want to talk to you about. Years back, or a couple episodes back, we talked about recruiting, creating culture that is safe for technicians, a great spot. We talked about going and finding people. Well, first of all, home services, women, big underserved, undersourced labor pool. And obviously you can't just say how great you are on CareerPlug and not be doing it. So first, if you guys have a terrible businesses, go back and listen to those episodes, and create a culture where it's safe for everybody, as well as young people. And you're able to make it fun for millennials, fun for Gen X, and you're actually creating culture that people want to go to work at. So assuming you've done those things, which, let's be honest, if you're listening to this podcast or others, you're clearly probably running a good business or care to grow. So let's assume that's all done. Now, what I love about CareerPlug and what I want to talk about more just in recruiting in general is your message written really well. They have templates to help you with that. They have what works, what doesn't work. There's a bunch of resources there. I mean, that's what's also fun about a company like Chris and CareerPlug is that we have the ability to now get some help. Are we writing what will hit the audience we need for those applicants? And then using their data and using their skill sets, you're able to actually have a better shot. Because if you do get that 1 or 2 unicorn employees who are looking for a job and who have all the attributes and it's a good fit, how are we doing? So let's talk about that a little bit. And what are some mistakes? And this is a fun kind of loaded question. You're allowed to tell the full unfiltered truth. What are the biggest mistakes your CareerPlug's users are making right now? What mistakes are we making in recruiting that we just need to stop and get better at?
Ooh, okay. So I'm going to give you several. These are going to be very tactical. Number one, think the job description of today needs to be written very differently than the job description was written a few years ago. So a few years ago, we would tell you, hey, make sure that you list all kinds of responsibilities and qualifications and details about the job. That's no longer relevant or important. What's important is, why is it awesome to work for you? So what's the benefit of somebody applying to your job? So the beginning of your job should be all about benefits. And when I say benefits, I'm not just talking about healthcare or whatever. I'm talking about, what is the compensation? Do you do Friday social hours? How much time off does somebody get? Do you have flexible work schedules? Those types of things are all benefits. And so lead your job descriptions with benefits. The people who don't do that, that's a big mistake. The second thing is share your culture locally. So too many businesses are afraid to show personal pictures of their businesses. They're very easy to do. You can do it on social media, you can do it on your website, but be local and be honest and authentic. Don't be over corporate, all right? Especially for small business owners. The third thing is, you have to understand this, but don't ask so many questions up front to try to qualify people out of your job. And what I mean by that is, you've probably been burned, and you're burned because somebody came in and they didn't have the qualifications to work for you. And so now the overcompensation of that is, I'm going to ask 15 questions up front in my application so that anybody who has burned me in the past, they're not going to do it again. That's tough, because now what you're doing is you're creating barriers for people to apply, and they're just not going to do it. So now you sit here and you have nobody who applies. So reduce the amount of upfront requirement to apply to the job. What I mean is, ask 1, 2, or 3 questions, just the non-negotiables that you have. make it easy for somebody to apply. Finally, this is the one thing that I think I see small business owners make a mistake of more than anything. And that is they're not open to change. And one of the biggest things that they could do right now is to address finding workers is be flexible with schedules. And what everybody wants potentially is like, I want a 40-hour work week. I want somebody to come and show up every day. I want them to be full-time. Well, that's not the way people's lives are today. So can you live or can you create a culture where you can have a 15-hour partial shift? Does that work for you? If you can, you now open yourselves up to a lot more candidates in the workplace. So kind of try to throw out some of those practices that you had in the past, be flexible, be willing to change and adjust to the market the way it is today.
That's powerful. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing when we step back and think. And I think as home services, we make fun of maybe, oh, Google's got like a coffee bar and childcare. Oh, must be nice to have that much money. And then we're like, that's crap. Well, we don't have to go that far, right? How about little things? Like just listen to your employees, like, hey, what would be happier? And what's amazing is it's very rarely the hourly pay, right? It's
Yeah.
maybe allow them to work 12-hour shifts and have 4-day weekends. Maybe they like to ski or hunt or spend time with their families, right? And, they're already working 10 hours anyways. They're just unpaid for it. And you all know that those things happen. Like just embrace it. We've heard on another show previous, we've heard, having, a fridge and a little kitchen stocked with some food, some snacks. So they're hydrated and they're nourished well while they're working for you, especially in labor jobs. Like that stuff goes a long way when they're talking about maybe $1 an hour increase with the competitor, and they're probably going to get hurt. And then they've got free lunches with you. I mean, so, that's a kind of a different topic, but Chris brings up a really good point. Benefits are no longer 401k and dental. It's what is a benefit. And those are important things, but what is the benefit? And what I'm hearing from you, Chris, is when we're writing those initial summaries and we're profiling the business, it's more like a meet and greet with some conditions. Like we want you into our living room to talk, but you can't come across the doorstep without a few of the basics. Instead of being like, get out there, sitting out there all scared, like we better pick the one. So I think that's incredibly powerful. And I appreciate that insight. What are some of the most creative things you've seen done in some of your clients that are home services to create a benefits in their packages and what they offer?
Yeah, I can share a couple. I'll try to stay focused on the stuff that's really inexpensive. So one of the things that I think is really cool is what can you do socially locally? So what I mean by that is, example, let's set a policy. Every Friday, all our jobs are done at 3:00, and from 3 to 4:00, we have happy hour in the office. And everybody just comes in, they grab a drink. It's nothing, fancy. It is inexpensive, and everybody just gets to hang out. I've seen a lot of people start doing that, and they're like, I can afford that, I can do that, and I actually enjoy doing it. I've even seen people say, if they do something like that, that's when they bring in new potential candidates. And so every time that they get a candidate, they say, well, hey, if you'd like to actually experience our culture, why don't you come by for a drink on Friday at 3:00? And this, you get a chance to meet all of our people. That has become really, really cool. The people, what I've seen them doing really well lately too, is people are starting to define what they want their culture to be. I'll give you a really good example with us at CareerPlug. So one of the things we've decided is we're now a remote company. And so we've got people all over the place. And our culture is very different than when it was in an office. So we said, we want our culture to be growth. And we started putting efforts in place like we actually will purchase any book that any of our employees want. So if you want something like create a growth culture, buying a book is $20. That is not expensive for your employees, but it means a lot to our employees. And you can do little things like that can really help promote. Those are the things that are going to help promote your culture, but they're also going to help retain your employees. And Jim, I'll tell you, retention is way cheaper than recruiting and hiring. So it's the best way that you can recruit.
That's really awesome. And it's nice to be able to say that in your application of new potential recruitees, to say, we have great retention. We have employees that have been here for 10 years, come see our culture. You can even put that right there in the application. If you're bold enough to say, hey, come on over, that says a lot about your welcoming personality. That's really cool. That's a really cool idea. I played in fundraiser yesterday. We played kickball, and
Yeah.
there was some companies, and one of the biggest restoration companies in our city was there, and like all of his employees are there, like everybody. I'm just like, man, this is so costly to have everybody there, like multiple teams and stuff. And I was like, hey, and I'll leave him nameless because I didn't ask if he could be on the show, but I was like, hey, what, God, that's got to be expensive. I make kind of a joke, right? And I was happy they were there, or I'm just like him. I think it's a great way to get to know your people. And he just looked, he's like, this is the best. This is our favorite day of the year. Like, it wasn't even oh man, yeah, you're telling me. And so I think that was a cool that it like was embraced from the owner down, that no, this is fun. Like, we're not going to nickel and dime. The three angry yelling customers that we didn't get their garden bed planted in yesterday, your people are your number one customer. And that's the other question I have. When you're writing your articles for CareerPlug, or if you're not using them, are you writing them like as though you're actually trying to sell your product? I mean, are you, here we are like, oh, we're kind, we are part of the community, we give back, but then we sometimes write it as, how dare you think about working for us? You better not mess with me. So I think if some of you are just now waking up and listening to this part of the podcast, I hope you heard Chris say that I think has been the most powerful thing. What is the posture of your process? Is it that of welcoming creativity, or is it that of we're just so hurt from being hurt, And so I think, like, most of our clients, I hope you're listening, that's really the key, because if it's two jobs to one person, I mean, that's incredible. You're not just competing, by the way, with your other competitors for that person. You're actually competing with the rest of the world. And when you have these small startup software companies offering free beer on Friday from 3 to 5, you might lose that person who should probably be painting houses with you for just having a happy hour. So I just want to sum up a few of these main points that I think are really rich. And so if you could have everybody, follow your lead going into the next chapter using CareerPlug, et cetera, what do you see? Let's talk kind of big industry, trades level. What do we need to do as a big T trades to really create a culture where now people like the trades are cool again? Like, what are some of the most important things that you think we need to do?
Gosh, I hope this continues, because I'm seeing it, but stop talking down about the trades. The trades are phenomenal.
Mhm.
I mean, I tell people all the time, I was like, my career started and I was a painter, and it was a great start to my career. I never would have guessed that I'm where I am today when I was back then. But so stop talking down about it. Like, it's a great career, and it's a phenomenal opportunity for so many people. I'll plug something else. So there's a company that we actually work with, Jim, named Generation T. And they are doing a really good job of promoting the trades to younger people. And so check them out if you haven't, but Generation T is a great opportunity to do that. Partner with local schools if you can. And even as simple as going into your own community and talking about the career opportunities that you're creating for people inside of your local communities. Somebody like myself may have started out as a painter, and I put in my good years of service doing that, and I did okay. But that created an opportunity for me to create a career. Don't be afraid of that either. Don't be afraid of somebody coming to work for you, and maybe it's 2 years, maybe it's 3 years, and then you give them the opportunity to move on. That's okay. They gave you 2 great years of service, right? So I'd say, don't talk down about it. Definitely embrace the fact that we want younger people coming into this. Everybody doesn't have to have 10 years of experience. If you can train somebody and give them a life skill, holy cow, that's a great impact on the world. That's what I'd love to see. And I think it's starting.
And there's no better industry to teach somebody how to serve. I mean, it's home services. It's the ability to learn to take care of people. It's the ability to learn how to overcome tough situations. And I think that that's really important for all of us. If you're driving around right now listening to this, I want you to sit back and say, hey, are we educating? How are we doing in realizing that we're not, it's so easy to focus on that window that needs to get installed, that house that needs to get painted, the barrier spray that needs to get put down for mosquitoes, and et cetera. And we get so focused on that, we forget, we're really teaching, those are just the medium to teaching our people how to just take care of other people, under promising, et cetera. And so all of this is really important, because, it would be great to have a situation where it's, 2, 3, 4 workers to one job. And because we're paying people well, it's a good job. We're getting more efficient. Here's my plug on the, I, like Chris, I never thought I would be in technology. Are you kidding me? I watched Office Space, said that'll never be my life, right? I love putting in glass. I love customers so much that now my clients are you knuckleheads out there, like the owners of businesses. But that we all have this ability to teach. And I think that's the cool part. What I heard you just say too, we got to create a platform, a launch pad. You're not going to find a 50-year worker that retires with a pension from your company, like in the old movies. It's just not going to happen. So my plug to this alongside of Chris is, are you using the right technologies to be efficient so you can focus on your people? Are you simplifying, your vans, your tools, the way you're routing and things so you can take that extra 20 minutes with a customer? Are you doing things for your community and taking your whole staff and cleaning up the litter on the side of the interstate? That's a cheap way to build morale. They're getting paid. They'll be happy to help out. It also shows that you're actually doing things for your community. So these things are really what help us find labor. And for those of you disappointed, I thought there was going to be a magic button where they just tell us where the labor is. Oh, you're wrong. It's not a magic button. However, there are people out there willing to work. So are you willing to change? Are you willing to adjust? Are we willing to actually do some little things to actually get people? And believe it or not, we have several clients who are like, I don't have any trouble finding people at all. And those clients are also the ones I want to hang out with. I want to get a drink with. I want to go stay with them because they're good people. And they care about their employees as much, if not more, than they care about their customer. And so really great insight, Chris. I think it's just so awesome to have that insight from your level, because you guys see I'm just imagine the data that comes through where you guys can see what's coming down the pipe. And so really good points. What else, if anything, would you like the home services world to know about CareerPlug and this industry as a whole?
I'll give one more stat piece of advice, and then I'll answer your question. The thing that I would love people to take away too is, in addition to what we've talked about, is speed wins in this game. And think about the value of an employee and then the value of a client or customer that you have. And too often I see people just put all of their energy into clients and customers. And look, that's great. But then they don't, and they ignore their candidates. They ignore the employee. So for example, the average time it takes to contact somebody in the home services industry is close to 9 days. So somebody applies and then I call them 9 days later. Somebody told me this the other day. They put it really well, so I'm going to steal it from them. But they said, Chris, if I contacted somebody 9 days after they applied, I'm talking to them on the 8th day they're working for another company. And I was like, that's really good and profound. But that's true. So treat your candidates and give them the respect that they deserve. If they apply, they expect you to be in contact with them via text message within 15 minutes. They applied on their mobile phone. They want you to text them back. They want to schedule an interview. That's what they want to do, but they want to do it now, not tomorrow, not 2 days or 9 days from now. So I do want people to know that. And
you're a whole different person in 9 days. You're not even
totally. I mean, yeah. Think about everything that happens to you in a week. So anyway, that's what I want people to do. And then, like, if somebody wants more information, we have all these great tools to help you be quick to respond, to qualify candidates, to move them through the process, to find the right candidates. And if you need a demo, go to our website, check it out, and we're happy to help you out.
Absolutely. And for our 3 people that watch us on YouTube, thank you, by the way. The description, the link will be down in the description for CareerPlug. They have great resources and great people too. I just personally really enjoy the company too. They're all great with stuff. And so it's nice to be aligned with a software that actually has a heart, And then the second part is if you're listening, just go to CareerPlug. It's easy to find. You can Google it. You go to careerplug.com. Just go snoop around and do us that favor. And then lastly, hopefully you didn't take away, it's all about CareerPlug, big lips, etc. We got to help the trades, everybody. We have to level up. We have to make it cool again. And remember, it's what built this country, literally. And it's the one thing that, robots and machines aren't going to automate, just to build paint a house, a custom color, and then change it 3 times. And so, for us, this is our chance to make these trades just a really fun way. And there's money and there's health and there's profit in our industries, everybody, believe it or not, but it comes up to us changing and being ready to adapt. And so continue to join us on Today in Trade. Trades with guests like Chris, reach out to me personally in comments or email us, and visit us at todayintrades.com. So thank you, Chris, for being on the show today. I'm excited for continued growth with you. Congratulations to all of you over there, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.